you have to do, from our perspective, is it's truly got to be value. The way we look at the draft is that, our first few picks, our first couple of picks have to be impact guys. They've got to be guys that can come in and impact the game. They've got to be guys that can help impact your team. And that's what we got to do. So,
I'm going to slide
if
into
people
the frame.
come to you and say, hey, we want to trade you this, this, and this, first thing you got to do is you got to find out where's their pick fall in the first round. I mean,
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am Kyle, and what you just listened to was Ron Rivera on the Redskins podcast with Chris Russell, not the Redskins Talk podcast, but of course, I'm drawing a blank now that I can't think of it. But look, welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I'm Kyle, joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed.
Oh, hey.
I'm glad to be back with you guys through the hiatus, because there has been so much news circulating around the NFL right now. It's buzzing, and first thing we have to get into is the latest, greatest developing news regarding Trent Williams. There's a possibility that he could be moved today. And it's dwelled down to, it looks like the Browns and the Jets are saying they're probably out of it. So right now, it's the Jets versus the Redskins. What's the latest that you guys have heard?
Yeah, that's a lot of what I've been hearing. Basically, is the same stuff all over Twitter. Is the Browns, apparently the Vikings touch base. I heard that the Jets are just about out of it. But and then, of course, Dan Patrick saying that he expects the Redskins to get a first. He heard from a source. I don't think that the Browns would trade the number 10 pick. But, I mean, even if we could get their second round pick, I would be more than ecstatic.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you're good, Hall.
No, I was just going to say I heard the same things that I heard yesterday, actually, that the Trent Williams to the Browns talks were starting to not really heat back up, but, stuff's getting a little tentative again. And then I heard, like you said today, the Jets are jumping in it, and I heard that the Vikings were possibly a dark horse, and there's like another sleeper team that obviously they missed out on one of the tackles in the draft. They're gonna hop in there, so definitely hope they get. I'm hoping they get like a player, a third or fourth rounder for him, but that's like what you're thinking.
Right, and if you really look at the draft and break that down, a lot of the teams. I mean, you could even have a team like the Seahawks being a team that could be interested. I mean, they're picking at 27th. And I mean, the Bucs, you can't count the Bucs out with all the moves that they've been making. Apparently, the Redskins had a trade in place in February for involving O.J. Howard and Trent Williams, and then that fell through. I know a lot of Redskins fans with the need for tight end would love to have somebody like O.J. Howard, as would I. And it seems like the Bucs are going all in right now. I don't think that they would end up trading for Trent Williams, but it could be a smart decision for them.
Yeah, and hopefully that gets done sooner rather than later. And look, here's the Buccaneers. Speaking of them, yesterday, out of nowhere, they traded for Rob Gronkowski, who, funny enough, I had him on my fantasy team last year. Hall and I worked together every day. And during fantasy season, I had Gronk on my bench for half the season because I was like, dude, he might come back. He actually might come back. I did not think he wasn't going to come back till April. I mean, this is absolutely amazing what happened in over a day. He already had his physical done, and he's on his way down to Tampa Bay and already has a jersey number 87 picked out.
Yeah. I think that's incredible. And a lot of people are going out after the Patriots for making that trade. But, I mean, if you really think about it, they just traded a retired player who wasn't going to play for him anyway for a fourth-round pick. So I think both teams that end up making out on this, obviously I know Patriots fans have to be pissed. They lost Tom Brady and Gronk, but let's be real. Gronk wasn't going to come back to you guys anyway. He retired because he didn't want to play for you. So it's a win-win for both teams. Like I said, Patriots traded a retired player for a fourth-round pick. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and look, I think the biggest takeaway from this for Redskins fans especially is that Bill Belichick took a fourth-round pick over O.J. Howard. And so I think that the biggest takeaway from that is a straight up trade for trade Trent Williams or O.J. Howard is not equatable. That doesn't make any sense. The Redskins should get a bunch in return. And so what this ensues is conspiracy theories. Haha, my specialty. And where I think the Jets are seriously in play. And if they get desperate enough, there is a chance that they could throw Jamal Adams into the mix here. And the reason why I say that is they've already told Jamal Adams they're not going to extend him. He's had a rough welcoming with Adam Gase since he's been in New York, and he's not in their future plans. Trent Williams is not in the Redskins' future plans. It would make a lot of sense for both teams to exchange these players and to wipe their hands clean, in my opinion.
Well, I was hearing that the Jets GM was saying that Jamal Adams is in the plans and that he wants him to be there like long term.
That's true. I also heard the Giants GM tell me that about Odell.
Yeah, no, that's right. 100% right. But also at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, Jamal Adams, that'd be nice. Actually, that'd be a great addition to the squad. But I also look at him and Landon Collins as kind of like the same player, so that'd be kind of like a double fault. But obviously, I know that Del Rio would make it work and Ron Rivera would make it work. And I would be okay with them trading straight up Trent for Jamal Adams or something to that magnitude. But, that'd be pretty.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you would always welcome a player like Jamal Adams. I mean, just conspiracy-wise, Kyle, what happened to Tower 7?
What Tower 7?
No. No, but, I mean, everybody, obviously, you would love Jamal Adams. Will that happen? I don't know. I know that the Jets are putting out different mixed reports about Jamal Adams. He's been supposed to have been on the trade block now since mid-season last year. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. It's going to be interesting to see. I would love to get Jamal Adams. I don't know if that will happen, but from what I've been reading, the Jets are out of the Trent Williams sweepstakes. But who knows? I mean, you hear that all the time, and then the team makes a trade. So
yeah, and look, and the reason why I think Jamal Adams fits this defense perfectly is because it will be an attacking style defense, and I think Jamal Adams is actually pretty good in the back end at free safety. He'd be the best person on this team to play that spot, and then you could leave Landon Collins where he is. But then Jack Del Rio could interchangeably be able to move Landon Collins and Jamal Adams around to be able to blitz them from the secondary location with the opposite side of Chase Young. So you have to imagine like that would be a deadly combo automatically for Jack Del Rio, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like I said, I would love to have both of them back there on the back end with Sean Davis as a rotational type of guy, maybe playing a little hybrid corner safety back there also. So, I mean, that'd definitely be a great bolster to the DB room and a great leader in the locker room. So,
yeah. I mean, remember, Sean Davis played cornerback in college. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have any experience as corner. He's a former hybrid corner safety as well. So he can play all over. And really just having a player of Jamal Williams' caliber would just improve any defense. I mean, he's somebody who you just put at either safety spot, bring him in, and he'll do a good job. So you're right. Obviously I would love it.
Yeah, and let me pause real quick because I forgot, because I'm terrible at doing this, but at the beginning of the show I was supposed to explain what this show is all about, and what we were doing for this episode, everybody, just to let you know, is we're just doing catching up on Redskins news, the latest and greatest, and then we have a full first round mock draft for everybody for a full 24 hours before the NFL draft fully starts. So you'll be able to dissect each pick from each of us. We're going to have one pick every 3 picks, and we're going to go through the whole list for everybody. No trades whatsoever, and we're going to have some good analysis for you guys. And on top of that, just some regular banter and news, any breaking news that comes across during the meantime. But that being said, in regarding the latest news, did you guys see that the Patriots' new uniforms and the Chargers' new uniforms that they announced?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure about you guys, but I mean, why aren't the Redskins coming out with anything? But then I thought to myself, maybe they're waiting till Chase Young.
I mean, it could be, definitely. I mean, there has been a lot of uniform turnover this season. I mean, the Patriots just went full-time with jerseys that look like they are straight out of the movie The Replacements. I mean, with Shane Falco, that's exactly what their new uniforms look like. I know that they're their color rush jerseys, but and then I love the Chargers new jerseys. The Chargers new jerseys are amazing. I think those are the best ones that have been announced yet. And I would love for the Redskins to get new jerseys, but at the same time, I think Dan Snyder is a stickler. I think that he would like to stay with the old classic feel because he thinks that this franchise is a classic franchise, which in a sense it is, but it's also a classic laughing stock for the last 20 plus years. So I don't know. I would like it, even if we just got an alternate jersey that's different.
Right, just a specialty jersey, because it would make a lot of sense. That's where the rest of the league is going towards. And like you said, Dan Snyder doesn't want to move away from tradition. So you're not looking for a complete overhaul, but at least just add something to the mix, something new and fresh. You get the younger base and the new identity along with it. What about you, Hall?
No, 100% agree. I wouldn't mind to see them going just like all burgundy, like the burgundy jerseys with the burgundy pants. I don't care whatever socks and like shoes, you know what I'm saying? But the burgundy helmets, or even take it back to the 2012 years with RG3, where we had the 1970s jerseys, I believe and like the Madden jump.
Yep.
Where it's like yellow helmets with the white jersey and the what is it, the burgundy pants or yellow pants or something like
yellow pants. Yeah, it was like a peep yellow pants.
And then they had the burgundy stripe on each side of the neck.
Right.
Yeah. I think I have that RG3 jersey in my closet right now.
I will forever love the Redskins spear jerseys, the old school ones that they wore that year with like Sage Rosenfels, the anniversary ones.
Yeah.
I'll always like those. I think that they should incorporate the spear somehow.
Yeah, no, I would say definitely take it back to the 75th anniversary also. I like those, the dark burgundy with the spear on the helmet.
Yeah.
The kind of like brownish, like tannish, like colored pants or whatever.
And really anything without a stereotypical Native American on it would be good,
Yeah.
I will admit, in Madden, one of my favorite helmets to use, I think it was the helmets that they used in the 70s, which was the yellow helmet with the red stripe down the middle and the red R. It was kind of like white and burgundy. That was one of my favorite helmets, and I think that is a color.
2012 with RG3 and Kirk and all that.
Yeah. That's the helmet I think that they should definitely incorporate and bring back. I do like that look from the Redskins. It definitely brings it back. I think Jason Campbell wore that too, because it reminds me of Jason for some reason, wearing that white jersey with the yellow pants and the yellow helmet.
I know for sure they wore it in 2012. I do remember that because everybody was calling it the canary jerseys, where it was like super yellow. But yeah, for some reason I remember Jason Campbell. Maybe they wore him as a throwback once or twice.
Yeah,
Campbell there.
You know what's funny? The irony and all that. I was listening to Green Dan the other day, and they were actually talking about the jersey swaps and jersey changes, and they brought up the yellow helmets with the yellow pants, white jerseys, and Bruce Allen.
Same people.
Might as well agree, Bruce Snyder. Bruce Allen is the one that actually came up with that whole like, hey, let's switch it up and like rock these jerseys this year. So
yeah,
he did right once.
Yeah, I know. Bruce Allen was big on giving him back the old school feel from when his dad was here. He really liked having the R, and he was all about changing it up. That's why they wore the yellow pants with the burgundy jerseys, because to kind of give that old school feel. So it'll be interesting to see if they do anything. I would love it. Like you said, I'd like to see the burgundy on burgundy come back. For some reason, I love those jerseys. I don't know why.
Yeah, and
a lot of people say that they hate them.
They're just hating on the Redskins in general.
That's true.
Yeah, just like usual. But the one uniform I would like to see is the Sean Taylor white on white comeback.
Yeah, right.
You're right about that one too.
Yeah, that's always a special one that I keep close to me. But look, let's move on to the meat of this draft episode, this whole pre-draft that we have for you. The first round mock draft, no trades, just straight up, baby. Let's get this going.
Real quick, how long do we have to make each pick?
Oh, come on. Let's give it.
Shouldn't take. I will say at the top's about 30 seconds or so, or a minute. You should have it, but I might have to look through my list.
Right,
like
you should have it. But yeah, by the time that we get done with our analysis, I mean, you should have a pretty good idea of who you're gonna select and why. You know what I mean?
I just got to put an X next to each one of the players that's been taken already.
Right. So
I wrote that down too.
Without further ado, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, let's go to the mock NFL draft, the Burgundy Zone edition. Let's go with the number 1 overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals. Michael Reed, you are up for the pick.
Quarterback Jalen Hurts. I'm just kidding. No, it's obvious. It's been obvious since the Bengals have locked down the number 1 pick, who they're going to take. Reports came out today that the Bengals have informed Joe Burrow that they are going to be taking him number 1. And that's what everybody expected. That's what they need. That's a smart way to go. A lot of people have Chase Young rated as the best player in this draft, but Joe Burrow not too far behind as the second or third best player. And if the quarterback's rated that high and you have a need for a franchise quarterback, you take him. And that's what the Bengals are going to do here. And it's smart. It's the best pick that they can make. They drafted Jonah Williams last year as a left tackle. He missed all of last season, but he should come back fully healthy this year. And then they're going to have to start to build around Joe Burrow. I like it. The former Ohio kid who was born and raised in Ohio gets to go to the Cincinnati Bengals and be the best quarterback there since Carson Palmer. You know, he's going to have a lot of expectations. It's going to be hard, but I think if anybody has the mental makeup and the actual ability to do it, it's Joe Burrow. So that's who the Bengals are going to take.
Yeah, look, the Bengals need all the help that they can get. They don't really have a nucleus right now in Cincinnati. The only thing that is solidified, I guess you could say, is Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd.
Right.
Besides that, there really is nothing else going there, and so they need a foundation, and Joe Burrow will be able to bring that to him. So let's move on to the best pick of the draft, one that could change and an organization's future for decades at a time. The number 2 overall pick, the Washington Redskins. Let's hear you, Mike.
With the number 2 overall pick, the Washington Redskins select soon to be number 99 wearing Chase Young. But yeah, obviously Chase Young, most people have him as the highest rated player in the draft, number 1 overall prospect, best edge rusher in the draft, a freak of nature, said to be a perennial talent and a perennial Pro Bowler. And I think, in my opinion, if Del Rio uses him right, which I'm sure that he will, I think within the next 2 to 3 years he'll be a defensive MVP candidate. And he's definitely a franchise changer for the Redskins. Add another 5th first-round pick to that line to go along with Kerrigan a couple years back, Deron Payne, John Allen, and, of course, Montez Sweat last year. It's going to change the defense around going forward with the 4-3. And that is the pick for the Redskins.
It's going to be so funny. I saw this tweet, and it's 100% true. Could you imagine the look on an offensive lineman's face when Chase Young rotates out, and you're like, all right, finally, I get a little break. And then you see Ryan Kerrigan strutting onto the field. And you're just like, God damn it.
Yeah, you're so right about that. Because what comes to mind, I've said it before, but the Eagles' defensive line from when they won the Super Bowl, their rotation was, it really gagged offenses, and that's what the Redskins are going to be able to do with the addition of Chase Young to that defensive line. Redskins fans are absolutely going to love this pick. I know that there's a small fraction that want them to trade back, but look, this is a slam dunk. And like Ron Rivera said in the pre-sound, in the intro, they're looking for impact players, and that's exactly what Chase Young brings to the table. The number 3 pick, the Detroit Lions. I'm gonna take this one over. Everyone's picking them to go with Jeff Okudah. But I'm not going that route, baby. I think Matt Patricia is going to select Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker from Clemson. They sent away Darius Slay. Look, I understand. Why would they send away Darius Slay without replenishing the cornerbacks? But look, Isaiah Simmons can stabilize your entire defense just by his presence alone at the middle linebacker spot. Now Matt Patricia can use his defense in any way that he wants, in any capacity. He can line Isaiah Simmons up on the outside in a nickel or diamond pass sets, or he can line him up at free safety in goal line situations. The sky's the limit for the Detroit Lions. They need some help in stopping Aaron Rodgers and the Minnesota Vikings and Chicago Bears and those great offenses. Isaiah Simmons is where he comes into play, and they're able to bring themselves back up to defensive prominence, or at least make some of it, because I'm not sure if the Detroit Lions have ever had defensive prominence. But look, they need some, and they can do that with Isaiah Simmons. I think that would be a slam dunk for them at number 3.
Yeah. I agree. Isaiah Simmons is a freak of nature. Hopefully the next regime in 2021-2022 season will be able to get the best out of Isaiah Simmons, because clearly Matt Patricia is about to be fired after this season. But yeah, he's going to be definitely a franchise setter and a changer for the Lions. And if they were able to get him, I feel bad for Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers trying to escape the pocket against him, because clearly he's going to track them down and crush them.
Imagine how many interceptions Mitch Trubisky's going to throw to a 6'4", 239-pound linebacker who can play quarterback with a 39-inch vertical.
Yeah. Runs a 4.39. Absolutely ridiculous, sitting at 6'4". And I think that's a perfect fit for Detroit, because in my opinion, it doesn't really make sense for them to lose a corner just to to bring one back just to do the same thing. It doesn't make any
Right.
sense. What's the definition of insanity, you know? So let's move on to the fourth pick, the rivals up north, the northest ones, the New York Giants. Mike Reed with the fourth overall pick. What do they do now that Isaiah Simmons is off the board?
Well, see, I think no matter what, even if Isaiah Simmons is on the board, I think that it would have been nice if they could get Isaiah Simmons, but I still think that even if he's on the board still at number 4, they're still going to lead towards offensive tackle, but it might not be the offensive tackle that some people think that it will be. So there's 4 big offensive tackles, and right here, just based off of things that I've read over the last few days, I'm going to go with offensive tackle Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. A lot of people think now that he could sneak up. A lot of people have him rated as the 4th best tackle, but now a lot of reports are saying that NFL GMs expect him to be the first tackle off the board because he is the most pro ready right now. And if you can't have training camp, if you can't have mini camps, if you can't have all this rookie adjustment period, then you need somebody who can step in and is pro ready right now. And that is Andrew Thomas. And it's not like he's rated too much lower than a Tristan Wirfs or a Jedrick Wills or even a Mekhi Becton. And I think that Andrew Thomas can go in there, slide right in, and then you can move over Nate Solder to the right side, and Andrew Thomas, I think, could be a perfect fit there in New York, and they need somebody now to handle the Redskins' number 2 overall draft pick.
Yeah, look, I would, as a Redskins fan, I would absolutely love that. I understand that Andrew Thomas is a good pick, but they're at number 4. It reeks of the Eric Flowers pick at number 9 from a couple years ago.
And I will also say another reason that I made this pick is because people are saying now that Andrew Thomas could be the first tackle off the board, or he's expected to be. And if any GM is going to make that pick, it's going to be Gettleman. He's the same exact guy who made Daniel Jones the number 6 overall pick last year when nobody thought he would go that high. I think it makes too much sense. But who knows if that's going to happen right now? Reports are saying that Miami's trying to trade up to 3, not to take a quarterback, but to take an offensive tackle.
Yeah. And look, the Giants are going to need it with what's happening here in D.C. on the defensive line. The Giants have to be able to adapt and build up their offensive line to at least keep Daniel Jones upright at some points, because it's going to be difficult at times for them. That's a great pick, and now let's move on to number 5, the Miami Dolphins, one of their 3 first-round picks. What do they do with their 5th overall pick, Michael?
As Reed just said, I know there's been a lot of speculation about them trying to possibly trade up to number 3 to get an offensive tackle, which is one of their needs going forward in the 2020 season. But I think that they played the draft perfectly. They got exactly who they wanted. They wanted the tank for Tua going back to last year. Fitzmagic pulled some wins out of his ass, and they actually played pretty good down the stretch. And they got the guy they wanted, sitting pat at number 5, which would be a 100% positive for them. So at number 5, the Miami Dolphins are going to take Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama, quarterback.
And how perfect would that be for them too, that they get to stay at 5 and still take the guy that they've been linked to for over a year now. They've been linked to Tua forever, and Brian Flores and all these. You're right. I think all these reports with Justin Herbert and with them trading up to try to take a tackle, I think a lot of it might just be a smokescreen because everybody knows that they want Tua. They're trying to put some words out there that that's not who they're going to take. That way they don't have to trade up and they can sit at 5 and take them.
Yeah,
like I said, dream scenario. Building block for the future if he can stay healthy. They made some great moves in the offseason, bringing in some defensive help. Obviously, the star of that being Byron Jones. So you got a number 1 cornerback going forward, supposedly a franchise quarterback going forward, and you're off to the races. You just need an edge and a couple of wide receivers. You're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's move out west. The number 6th pick, the LA Chargers. I'm going to take this one over. And look, let's add Jeff Okudah to the mix with Derwin James out in LA. Let's build up some more defense out there. He's the best player on the board right now. And what's better than going against Patrick Mahomes and that pass-happy offense than to stack some more defensive might on there on the outside? I think Jeff Okudah going to the Chargers makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that would be that defense that is a very good and talented defense would just get that much better having somebody with Jeff Okudah. They could go a number of ways there. At 6, they could go quarterback. They could go offensive tackle after just trading Russell Okung. But I think Jeff Okudah is too good to pass up there, and the rich get richer on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, in this scenario, if this actually were to happen and play out in real life, I could actually see them maybe taking Okudah, like you said, maybe going quarterback. But hey, maybe they, maybe some other team like Oakland or maybe Jacksonville says, "Oh man, they didn't take a quarterback. Let's trade up to number 6 real quick," and then maybe they trade back, acquire more picks to number 9, and go from there. But Okudah would be a great pick to partner with Derwin James, Bosa, and Melvin Gordon going forward. So yeah, great pick.
I'm right there with you. And speaking of first-year guys, let's head down to Carolina. And Reed, let's go to you with the 7th overall pick. Now that Isaiah Simmons is off the board, Okudah's off the board, where's Matt Rule going to go with his first pick as the Panthers head coach?
Yeah, I think that they were holding their breath, waiting for Jeff Okudah to fall down that far to number 7. They would have loved that. That would be the ideal scenario. But in this situation, I'm going to go with Derek Brown, defensive tackle out of Auburn. He's one of the best defensive players in this draft. And he doesn't get talked about much because of Chase Young and Isaiah Simmons and Jeff Okudah. And you don't hear about Derek Brown much, but Derek Brown's up there with those guys. He's one of the best players overall in this draft, and they get somebody that they can build around. Now, I know Justin Herbert's still on the board, but I think that they're happy with where they are with Teddy Bridgewater. They're going to give him at least a year to prove that he is their franchise guy, and they can start building that defense. And I know that a lot of people would want them to get a linebacker. There's not a linebacker really worthy of the number 7 pick here, and Derek Brown is just going to help whatever linebacker they do bring in be able to roam free a little bit.
Yeah, and it'd be good for Matt Rule to begin his tenure on that defensive line there. A lot like the Carolina Panthers did with Julius Peppers. They need to build a foundation on that defensive line because last year, once Luke Kuechly left, that defense fell apart. That just wasn't any fun for them anymore. Let's move on down west, and let's go to Arizona with Hall with the 8th pick. They are left tackle needy, apparently. Is that where they go?
I know Kyler Murray has been clamoring with the front office and the Kingsbury about trying to get his boy from college, CeeDee Lamb, in there to add another weapon to that ridiculous offense with just receivers out the ass in it. But I think they go the safe route and they go the more smarter route, obviously. They need someone to protect Kyler Murray. They can't have him back there running for his life all the time, scrambling, taking hits. So with the 8th pick in the draft, they go left tackle, and also possibly one of the people will also say maybe the best left tackle in the draft or tackle in the draft overall. Tristan Wirfs, Iowa, left tackle.
Yeah, and that's a great pick because I've seen videos of Tristan Wirfs doing some incredibly athletic stuff. I think he was the biggest comp to Trent Williams that I have seen, and getting him out there with Kyler Murray, who's very athletic and moving the pocket, I think that would be a slam dunk pick for Arizona.
Yeah, I agree. I think that getting Tristan Wirfs at 8 would be huge. He is the most athletic tackle in the draft. He destroyed the combine. And for a team that runs more wide receiver screens than any other team in the league, having somebody who can get out there in front of the receiver like Tristan Wirfs with his 4.8, 540 speed is somebody that you could really use and utilize well in that offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's move on to the 9th pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Jay Gruden, moving down from D.C., going to Jacksonville, and you know what Jay Gruden loves, baby. Jay Gruden loves himself some throw-ins. He loves himself some wide receivers. He loves all of it. And you know what he's going to get? He's going to get himself Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver from Alabama, adding an immediate electric wide receiver to that arsenal that they have down in Jacksonville, and being able to give Gardner Minshew a plethora of weapons on the outside. Look out for Jacksonville in a very, very difficult division. It's going to be lights out.
Yeah, I think especially just releasing Marquise Lee, they do have a need, and who knows, Jerry Jeudy could just be that highly ranked on a board that he is taken at 9. And I think that that's a very smart pick. I think that they could really utilize and they can really see what they have with Gardner Minshew by drafting somebody like Jerry Jeudy.
Absolutely. And so sorry, Hall.
No, I was just going to add in, like, pairing him up with DJ Chark on the other outside would be a great weapon for Minshew or whoever else they draft a quarterback, bring a quarterback like Cam Newton in. Who knows? But definitely whoever the quarterback is, probably Minshew going forward. Great weapon for him to pair with Shark. And like you said, I can just see Jay Gruden just getting full chub trying to scheme up G.J. Shark and Jerry Jeudy open all day every Sunday.
Oh, absolutely. You know he's all over that. So let's move down. Let's move up to Cleveland. Michael Reed, via Zoom, who are they going to pick with the 10th overall selection?
If they do not trade for Trent Williams, which right now they have not. So I'm going to go with number 10, left tackle / right tackle out of Alabama, Jedrick Wills Jr. He played primarily right tackle in college, but that's because Tua Tagovailoa is a left-handed quarterback, so he basically had the same responsibilities as a left tackle. He says he feels comfortable moving to the left side. They just signed Jack Conklin to play right tackle this offseason. I think that now you have a very formidable two bookend tackles for Baker Mayfield. He has no more excuses to fail. They have a good running game. They have great wide receivers, and now they have two bookend tackles. And I think that would be the smart pick, and they would be jumping for joy if Jedrick Wills Jr. is there for them at number 10.
And that's a slam dunk for Cleveland because they need to solidify Baker Mayfield's backside because he has been getting destroyed recently, and they need some stability there on offense. They have been lacking something there. I love that pick. Let's move. And speaking of young quarterbacks, let's move over to New York with the Jets. Michael Hall, who are they going to take with the 11th overall pick?
The New York Jets at their number 11 pick are going to add another weapon for Sam Darnold back there, up there in New York. With them losing Robbie Anderson, they lost that deep threat and their number one receiver overall, basically. And yeah, I'm gonna go CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. He's a playmaker. He's a game changer. He can run every route in the route tree. With the ball in his hands, he's electric. And I think that him and Sam Darnold going forward would be two cornerstones for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that that's a very smart pick, especially after losing Robbie Anderson. And let's be real, it's not like CeeDee Lamb is the second best receiver in this draft. It's 1A and 1B, I would imagine, between Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb on most boards. And then another very good receiver, Henry Ruggs, solidified at that number 2 spot. So I think CeeDee Lamb would be a perfect acquisition for Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there. And so let's move on to L.A., the Rams. They have the 12th.
This is the Raiders.
Oh, sorry, the Raiders. Oh, I'm sorry. My fault.
Yeah.
And that completely changes up my selection then. With the 12th overall pick, I think the L.A. Raiders, of course I didn't write it down, the L.A. Raiders are going to take Henry Ruggs, the guy who ran a 4.240, speed. Al Davis lugged the ability to be able to get downfield and score touchdowns. That's all they need in Vegas, and they need something to pop off the screen, and Henry Ruggs is going to be able to do that this season. I think that is a slam dunk, and people in Vegas are going to be happy about this selection.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's no secret that they're going to try to go wide receiver with their first pick at number 12, and I think that's a very good decision there.
Yeah, they need a downfield threat for Derek Carr and that offense to open it up for what's the tight end's name again? Darren
Waller.
Darren Waller.
Yeah,
Darren Waller underneath. The backfield's already solidified with what's his name from Alabama? I can't even think right now. I don't know what's going on. But
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. Thank you. But yeah, definitely that'd be a great pick, and I could definitely see him being a huge help for the new LA Raiders going forward.
The Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sorry, I screwed y'all up, Hall. That's my fault. Blame me. So let's go to Michael Reed, who has San Francisco, whose pick is via the Indianapolis Colts. Who is the 49ers going to pick at 13 there?
I think in this situation, the San Francisco 49ers are going to be a little bit disappointed that they couldn't get one of the top 3 wide receivers. I think that they would have loved to have had a Jerry Jeudy or a Henry Ruggs. I think that they would fit perfectly in their offense. But in this situation, they're not there. So the San Francisco 49ers are going to take Javon Kinlaw, one of my favorite defensive linemen in this draft. I have him as a top 10 player, and I think he will fit perfectly on that defensive line that just lost a major piece in that Indianapolis trade. And I think that Javon Kinlaw is a very underrated prospect nationally, and he's somebody who can come in there and make some noise and be a big help on that already stacked defensive line. I think that it's a little bit too early there for them to take a Justin Jefferson or somebody like that or a Denzel Mims. So I think that the 49ers at 13 and 31 could be teams that could trade back. But in this, we're not projecting trade. So I think Javon Kinlaw is just too big of a prospect there to pass up.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. It would make a lot of sense with them getting rid of DeForest Buckner. It would make sense for them to just replenish with Kinlaw there. So let's move to the newly acquired, the TB, the Tom Brady Buccaneers. Michael Hall, who do you think they're going to select there with number 14?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know why it even fell through in the first place, because it would make you want to trade O.J. Howard even more if you acquire Gronk. But unfortunately, the Trent Williams to Tampa Bay for O.J. Howard fell through. So with that being said, they're going to need a left tackle to protect Tom Brady's backside, and they're going to need a left tackle cornerstone going forward for their franchise. So why not take, again, another possible best tackle in the draft, killed the combine, Mekhi Becton out of Louisville, the big old Louisville Giant.
Yes, sir.
That's a perfect pick. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers definitely need an offensive tackle, and if Mekhi Becton is there, one of the big four offensive tackles is there, they kind of have to pull the trigger. And Mekhi Becton, some people are saying, fell down the boards a little bit because of a false positive drug test at the combine. Who knows? That could just be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers putting that out there. That way they make sure they can get the big 6'8" behemoth.
I absolutely love that. And so let's move on to the 5th overall pick, the Denver Broncos. I'm going to go with C.J. Henderson, the cornerback from Florida, the 2nd overall best cornerback in this draft. They just lost Chris Harris, and they just basically just reload the chamber with another number 1 corner that they can slide right in and help their defense going against Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill for the next couple of years. I think that is a slam dunk trade for the Denver Broncos. It's just C.J. Henderson has to stay on the field and stay healthy.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think C.J. Henderson would be a perfect fit out there in Denver. They could go a number of ways depending on how the draft falls. They could go corner like C.J. Henderson. They could go wide receiver. They could go offensive tackle. But here they get the 2nd best corner in the draft, and arguably, apparently, according to some GMs, the best corner in the draft. They're at 15. I think they would be more than happy to take him.
Yeah. He's highly ranked as the best cover corner in the draft over Okudah being the best overall corner. If he can, like you said, stay healthy, stay on the field, and I know people say he shies away from tackling a little bit, but I think that good old John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan good old John Elway and Dick Fangio and those boys will be like, you're gonna hit today, boy. So
yeah. You're not kidding about that. So speaking of not hitting, let's move to Atlanta with Michael Reed with the 16th overall pick. I know they really wanted C.J. Henderson. What do they do now?
Yeah, with the top 2 corners on the board already gone, the Falcons are gonna switch their sights to something else. I know that they just made a signing this offseason, but I still think that they have need for another edge defender. So I'm going to have them go and K'Lavon Chaisson. He's somebody who has tons of potential. Had he worked out in Indianapolis and put up the numbers he would be expected to put up, I think that he would have been ranked a little bit higher on some boards just based off of his bend and athletic ability. And he really didn't produce too much in college. Last year at LSU, he only had 6.5 sacks. But he's somebody who can come in, learn, and possibly be a very good defender in that newly retooled NFC South.
Yeah, and Atlanta would definitely is going to need that, given with what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just acquired on offense. They're going to need some pass rush to be able to suppress Tom Brady twice a year. Speaking of twice a year, Michael Hall unfortunately has the no-name Cowboys. Who are they going to go with at the 17th pick of the draft?
Well, with them losing Byron Jones, they're definitely going to need some help in the secondary. At cornerback, I know safety is a need as well, possibly. So with that being said, with the worst pick in the NFL draft, I am going to give the Dallas Cowboys their cornerback, and I'm going to give them the hometown boy in the TCU area, Dallas-Fort Worth area. Where is he at? What's his name? Jeff Gladney. Jeff Gladney out of TCU.
Jeff Gladney in the first.
Yeah,
Did-
they're gonna
I
take
think
a flyer on him. Like I said, with their cornerback needy, they probably most likely they would go best player available, or maybe take Ross Blacklock, who I had them possibly taking him as well, D tackle. But yeah, just like I said, with them losing Byron Jones, I just think they're going to need a cornerback, possibly a shutdown cornerback going forward, and Jeff Gladney could possibly be that guy.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Jeff Gladney is the third best cornerback in this draft. I think he's definitely a first round pick. And I think that the Cowboys would love to have somebody like him who can replace Byron Jones, who can play inside or outside, and who actually helps out in the running game and isn't afraid to be physical. I think, and the fact that he's from TCU and he's a local boy, I think that just makes too much sense.
Yeah, and let's not forget what my nickname for Jeff Gladney, and that was Jeff Herpes Gladney, because when he gets on you, there's no getting him off. I like him a lot, but unfortunately, he's going to have a rough career going against Terry McLaurin for the next 5 years when he's in a Dallas Cowboys uniform. Moving on to Miami with the 18th pick, the second pick in this draft, and they got that from the Steelers. I'm going to have them go with Kenneth Murray, the linebacker out of Oklahoma. My nickname for him was Bond. James Bond. He's a freak athlete. He is great at the line of scrimmage, being able to spy the quarterback or the running back leaking off the line of scrimmage. He is a heat-seeking missile. The Dolphins are able to get some attitude, some tenacity, and speed in that front seven on the defense. Look out for Miami down south.
Yeah, I think that he'd be a very good acquisition to that defense. I could 100% see that they have a need at linebacker. I also would be on the lookout for an offensive tackle there, somebody like Josh Jones or possibly an Austin Jackson, because Miami needs a tackle bad. But this would be a good thing if they're passing on some of the tackles. Then maybe we could unload Trent for one of their next picks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would bolster their defense up great. And Brian Flores being a defensive-minded coach, and I think he'd be able to use Keith Murray to his greatest ability.
Yes, sir.
Or Kenneth Murray.
You're good. So let's move to Vegas with their second pick in the first round. Michael Reed, where are they going?
Well, since they took a wide receiver with their first pick, I don't think it's any secret that now they're going to switch over to the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to have a little bit of a surprise pick here. They're going to go with cornerback, I think, but the team that took Clelin Ferrell at number 4 last year would surprise some people. I think that they're going to go with Christian Fulton, the cornerback out of LSU. He's got everything you want physically. He's athletic. He's long. He's tall. He's got some muscle to him. And he's somebody who I could totally see Mike Mayock and John Gruden swooning over, and he would fill a position of need. After trading the first-round pick from a couple years ago to the Texans, they need another cornerback, especially in that conference. And I think that Christian Fulton, kind of after the top 2, it's kind of a crapshoot with the cornerbacks, but Christian Fulton playing at LSU, being on the national stage, and having a decent year, especially 2 years ago, I think that he could be the pick there.
Yeah, and I love that pick for the Raiders because look, they need help at the cornerback position. That's one position they have not been able to fix ever since oh my goodness, Nnamdi Asomugha. Ever since he left, they haven't been able to recharge there. Just like the Redskins with Sean Taylor, it seems like with the safety position, haven't been able to stabilize it since.
Yeah, 100% agree.
All right, so let's move down to Jacksonville with Jay Gruden with their second first-round pick. Hall, where are they going to go?
Just like what Reed said, they went offense in the first round, so I think they're gonna go defense. And with their first pick, they're gonna go with their 20th overall pick. They're gonna go defense, and some of their needs are inside, like defensive tackle, a linebacker. But with them, most likely losing Yannick Ngakoue because he's on Twitter going back and forth with Khan's son and shit. So I'm gonna give them Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State edge rusher. Highly productive guy out of the Big Ten. He has great bend, great power coming off the edge, and I think that down in Jacksonville he would get them back to the nickname Saxonville.
Yeah, and I liked watching his film. He was actually a very good pass rusher. I thought wasn't getting enough wasn't getting talked about enough, and he would be an immediate addition to that great defense.
Yeah, he would pair very well with Josh Allen, and as long as he could grow a little bit and then become the defensive end / outside linebacker that he could be, I think that would be a very, very good pick for the Jaguars.
All right, so let's move down. Let's move over to Philadelphia, and I'm going to pick with the 21st overall pick. Let's give Carson Wentz a weapon that I'm going to hate seeing that I call Odell Beckham Jr. 2.0, and that is Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver from LSU. Jumping his film, he looks a lot like him. Just off his body movements, the way he attacks the ball in the air, I just see a lot of Odell Beckham in his game, and they need some help at the wide receiver position. They need to get some playmakers off of so they don't need to use Zach Ertz as much, because as he's getting older, they're going to start phasing him out. And last year, the tight ends was the only talent that they had on offense at times. So Justin Jefferson immediately goes into Philadelphia and it makes their passing offense better.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's no secret that they're going to take a wide receiver in this class. Now, the only thing is, are they a team that could possibly trade up and get one of the top 3 wide receivers in this draft? I know that they've been linked to them, but I think in this scenario, perfect fit for them, unfortunately, and they get a good wide receiver in Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, so let's go to Minnesota. What does Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings do at 22, Michael Reed?
Well, all right. So I think that in this draft, they've got a few different directions that they could go. Obviously, they could go cornerback. They could go wide receiver after unloading Stephon Diggs. But I'm going to go a little bit different, something that they haven't done a good job of lately. And I'm going to give them Josh Jones, offensive tackle from Houston. I think that he is a fantastic offensive tackle, and he's kind of in that second tier, the top offensive tackle in that second tier at the position. And I think that right there, he would possibly be the best player on the board that would fill a need. And I think that Josh Jones could go over. He could play the right side early on, and then you could possibly have him take over the left side for Riley Reiff, and he could be somebody who could really flourish in that system and protect Kirk Cousins, protect their big investment.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Definitely Kirk Cousins without, like you said, Trent Williams has been linked to them as far as left tackle, so that's a high position they need for them. And, Kirk Cousins needs a guy on the backside to solidify his big contract going forward that he has, so he can justify that, hopefully get him some playoff wins.
Yes, sir. And so let's keep it with you, Hall. New England, now the Tom Brady list, New England Patriots, are they going to go quarterback here with the 23rd pick?
Can I tell you real quick, this would be one of the toughest teams to pick for, because you never know what the Patriots are going to do.
Yeah.
Right. They have like multiple needs for the first time in like over 20 years, which is like crazy. Quarterback being one of them, the tight end being one of them, which they're not going to take a tight end in the first round, obviously. Wide receiver definitely is a glaring need. Edge rusher, with them losing Kyle Van Noy to the Miami Dolphins, is a need. And
there's a guy there.
There's some guys there. There's 2 quarterbacks on the board that could definitely be some franchise guys, maybe. There's an edge rusher that I actually have them taking, but I'm going to rethink this, and I think that they stick it out with Stidham, see what he has for this year. They're going to put a weapon around him, and I'm going to give them Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver from Arizona State.
Ooh.
Big body, strong receiver, great after the yard after the catch, the yak. And like I said, they need weapons on the outside. And with him being some people have him as a number 4, number 5 rated receiver, that'd be a great weapon for Stidham or Hoyer, whoever gets a starting job. And we can go from there.
Yeah, that's such a Patriots move, too, going up there and then taking wide receivers in back-to-back years, of course, after taking N'Keal Harry last year. And both Brandon Ayuk and N'Keal Harry, both from the same school at Arizona State, and I think that would be such a Patriots pick right there, just getting somebody that people don't expect them to take, and it ended up working out for them.
Honestly, I almost gave them Laviska Shenault just because that's another like super Bill Belichick type of like player, tough, big, strong receiver, can do a lot of different things. So, but I just decided to give them the big play, yards after catch receiver, Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, and moving on to pick 24, which is New Orleans. I'm I'm going to get Drew Brees' backup here. The third best quarterback in this draft, Justin Herbert, is going to be selected by the New Orleans Saints. They need to be able to replenish. They need to be able to carry their offense, and it doesn't go with just Taysom Hill. They're going to need to replenish that quarterback position, and they did it with this pick, getting Justin Herbert, giving him the ability to sit out the year, learn from the Hall of Fame quarterback, and then step in when the time is right with a really good offense and system and scheme with Sean Payton. Slam dunk pick, in my opinion, at 24.
Yeah, I think that if Justin Herbert falls that far down and he's there, then I think you almost have to take him. If you're a team like the Saints or even somebody like the Packers or the Patriots, they have to have somebody who's there and who's ready to take over soon. And I think that would be a perfect pick. He's got all the tools. If he can learn behind Drew Brees for a year or two, then look out because he could put it all together fast.
Yep.
Absolutely. So let's move to Minnesota. Michael Reed, you're sticking with Minnesota, dude. You get Minnesota all day today.
I have two teams that have double picks. I have the 49ers and Minnesota. I get to pick for both their picks for both of them.
Sick. So let's hear about Minnesota's second pick now.
All right. So their second pick, I've lost a few cornerbacks, and this is going to be a familiar name. They're going to draft Trayvon Diggs. Cornerback from Alabama, the brother of the disgruntled wide receiver Stephon Diggs. I know they asked Trayvon how he would feel about getting drafted by the Vikings. He said he doesn't care. The things that happened between them and my brother are between them and my brother. And then they asked Trayvon and Stephon's mom how she felt about it, and she was like, well, we would have to be very careful. I would have to be reassured by them. I think in this scenario, that's what they do. And they get a talented corner, albeit a very raw corner, who only made the switch to corner from wide receiver only a few years ago. He's somebody who kind of reminds me of Quentin Dunbar. They have a similar body. They're both very inexperienced. So if he can become a cornerback that as good as Quentin Dunbar, I think he would be a fantastic pick for them. But he does need a lot in terms of a lot more experience. He needs more playing time, but get him started early, and then you could possibly have a good one down the road.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. Trayvon Diggs would go and help their defense get back to where they were, because they've fallen off the past couple years from where they were when Zim first got there. So let's move down to Miami, who this is their third first-round pick. What are they going to do, Hall?
I know Xavier McKinney's on the board, and a lot of people have them taking him either with their 18th pick or this pick right here. And I know that a lot of people have them mocking DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia, at this pick.
It's also a tackle there.
Yeah, there's also a left tackle there that they definitely has a need. But I think that you know what? I think that they want to get their quarterback, and I think they want to get their running back for the next 5 to 10 years going forward, because everyone needs that big three: quarterback, running back, wide receiver. So I'm going to give them DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia. He can do it all. He can run out the backfield. He can catch out the backfield. He can pass block. So I think that Tua, going forward, would have a great weapon in the backfield with him. But for this year, obviously Fitzpatrick and Miami would have a running back in a Swift.
Yeah, and I think you'd be a perfect complement to Jordan Howard. That would be a very good pick for Miami. I think he's hands down the best running back in this class in terms of his ability and what he offers to a team. And I think he would end up being Tua Tagovailoa's best friend down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the 27th pick, let's go with me, and let's go with Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to throw it for a loop here. A guy that actually I really enjoyed his film, A.J. Epineza, the edge rusher from Iowa. A very lengthy guy, a very good pass rusher. With the loss of Jadeveon Clowney, they can add A.J. Epineza in there right away, and they can seal the edge of the line of scrimmage. I think that is a great pick for the Seahawks, so they can get some pass rush to offset the offense with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree. He's a defensive lineman that you can kind of move all over the place, and after they don't have Jadeveon Clowney signed, he's still a free agent, and I think that A.J. Epineza could totally be somebody that they could bring in to replace him on running downs, and then on passing downs, you could even slide him inside, and he could play at defensive tackle, and he can really wreak some havoc all over that line.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So, Reed, let's stick with you. I know Shook is going to be really blown about this, so you better do it right. Who are you going to pick for the Baltimore Ravens sitting at 28?
I'm going to give them a guy that could kind of fill two needs in this draft right now, and that is Zach Bond. Zach Bond, the edge rusher slash linebacker out of Wisconsin. He's somebody he can come in early on and he could transition into a full-time linebacker. He has all the skills that you need to succeed there in the middle. On passing downs, you could use him as an edge rusher. He's a very underrated pass rusher. He played defensive end in college, and he's somebody who they projects really well to the NFL. He's got to develop a little bit more of his pass rushing skills, but that's somebody who I know Shook loves. I think he would be happy with this pick, especially because Kenneth Murray's off the board and AJ Epinesa as well. And he told me, he said, if we don't get Kenneth Murray, AJ Epinesa is another possibility, but I want Zach Bond. So I think I'm going to give this pick to Shook, and that's who we're going to take, is Zach Bond. And it's no secret that the Ravens don't need a pass rush. Like, the Ravens need a pass rush bad. They could also use a linebacker bad, and Zach Bond could potentially fill both positions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So let's move on to Tennessee, the Cinderella story from last year, Michael. Who are they going to pick with the 29th pick in this draft?
Well, with the loss of Corey Hampton to free agency, or to trade to Denver in the offseason during free agency period, they've had a gap on the defensive line. So with the 29th pick, I am going to give them Derek Brown's counterpart, Marlon Davidson, edge rusher out of Auburn. He was a great counterpart to Derek Brown. Some said when watching Davidson, you couldn't tell if it was Brown or Davidson, because that's how good he was at sometimes. His motors here and there sometimes, but I think with the right coaching down in Tennessee, with Vrabel being a defensive guy, he can turn Marlon Davidson into the future Corey Hampton, Casey Hampton.
You'd be Jarrell Casey over there at 29.
I don't know what the hell's wrong with him.
Who was it that you said that they picked too? I'm sorry, I heard your breakdown. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was Marlon Davidson or Co.
Yeah,
Marlon Davidson. That was a better pick. So good job.
So I'm going to go with the 30th overall pick with the Green Bay Packers, and I'm going to actually have them go with safety Antoine Winfield, possibly one of the best safeties in this draft, a bullet and a playmaker. Dad played for the Minnesota Vikings a while back. I'm sure you guys remember. I think this is a slam dunk for the Packers that need some help defensively in the back end, and Antoine Winfield will supply that immediately.
Yeah, I think that would be a very good pick. It's shocking to have him going over Xavier McKinney, and they could also go wide receiver, but I like the fit of Winfield there. I think he's better as a strong safety after they took Darnell Savage last year, so I do like that fit. I think that you're right.
So the reason why that fits with me is because, with Green Bay, they have like a kind of mold that they do with their players, right. And Antoine Winfield, was the captain of his defense. He was a huge part of that defense, where Xavier McKinney was a small piece of a big conglomerate corporation, but Antoine Winfield was like the business owner and ran it, and I think that makes more of Green Bay sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
So let's move on to the second to last pick in this draft. The San Francisco 49ers backed another double pick here, their second pick in the first round. What are they going to do, Reed?
I think in the real draft, I think that you can really look for them to trade back, especially at 31. I think that 31 is the pick that they will trade back. They don't have a pick again until the fourth round or something. So they got to try to get more picks in the second and third round. They need something, but in this pick, that's not how it fell. But it's going to be interesting now. Now I can choose between a few players. So usually in most draft mocks, they get a wide receiver early at 13. All the receivers are off the board. So let's see if we can switch this up a little bit. Let's see. They could use an offensive tackle to eventually come in and replace Staley. They could use an interior offensive lineman. They could possibly use a safety with all the people that they're trading out there. But I think that this player is too good on the board. He might not fill an immediate need, but I think that Patrick Queen, the linebacker from LSU, could be a good fit there. He could come in. He could pair well with Fred Warner, and he could be a stud in that division. And I almost went Denzel Mims there, but I think with this deep wide receiver class, they could, if they
and I thought
end up trading back at that pick, they could target a wide receiver.
Sorry,
later.
Hold on, Reed. You're breaking up really hard. Sorry. All that was broken up. I'm sorry, I could barely hear you.
Was it really?
Yeah, but I think Patrick Queen was going to be a really realistic spot for Baltimore. I think he fits Baltimore. When I watched his film, he just fit Baltimore like to a T. What they expect from a middle linebacker, they don't expect their middle linebacker to go out in coverage and to be able to stop passes, and that's where Patrick Queen is weak at. I thought that would make a lot of sense. But look, him going to San Francisco, that he's going to fit right in and do really well for Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to get them a wide receiver early at 13. Didn't work out like that. Thought about wide receiver at 31, but I just think that Patrick Queen, as arguably the first best linebacker in this class, was worth more than a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Than the 5th, 6th, 7th ranked wide receiver,
Yeah.
So it's a deep year. Who knows? Maybe they can get a wide receiver later.
Right. All right, so let's move on to the last pick of our mock draft, sadly enough. Hall, what are they going to do with the last pick?
Well, I had Patrick Queen mocked to them, but he was just snagged up the pick before by the 49ers. So with that being said, I know that they lost Kendall Fuller to the beloved Redskins. So they're going to have his replacement step in there, and I'm going to give them Jalen Johnson, cornerback out of Utah.
Yeah, I think that is a smart pick for them to take a corner. I know a lot of people have Jalen Johnson as a first-round cornerback. He's in the mix, kind of. It really depends on the board. It's like Okudah and Henderson are number 1, and then after that, from like number 3 to number 8, it's kind of a crapshoot. All those guys are kind of interchangeable, and I think that Jalen Johnson has the perfect amount of potential. He's got the right body type. He's the type of player that they could use there in Kansas City.
Yeah, I just did not like Jalen Johnson's film out of there. I just did not like it at all. I thought Terrell Burgess was the better fit from that defense.
I do think Jalen Johnson's better than an A.J. Terrell, though.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would take A.J. Johnson there out of the cornerbacks and over Noah Igbinoghene, or however you pronounce his name, from Auburn. So I like that pick.
One corner I did want to point out that I had seen and done some scouting on that I thought was probably one of the better corners but got overshadowed, and that was Damon Arnett, the corner from Ohio State. I thought he got overshadowed by Jeff Okudah a little bit. He's kind of bad against press, but against on ball scales, the dude is lights out.
Yeah, he's got very good tape. I think that his combine kind of scared some teams away, so I think that's going to force him to fall a little bit. But I like him too. He's somebody who I think is more of a game player than a workout warrior.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Well, that wraps up our mock draft. It's going to wrap up our episode here. But look, don't worry. We're going to have a episode for you guys every day starting on Friday. So we have the pre-draft for you for this first round. We all know what the Redskins are going to do with the second overall pick. There's no reason really to go into further unless something happens drastic tomorrow where the Redskins trade back into the first round based with maybe with Minnesota for one of their first rounders. So if that happens, we'll be recording an episode tomorrow, but guaranteed it's going to be one on Friday.
By the way, I just got a notification saying that Miami, who the rumors have been going around all day that they're trying to get up to number 3. Apparently, the plan is for Miami with what they're offering and what the potential that they have is that they can stay at 5 and use their other picks to get the 3rd pick. So they could go offensive tackle before New York gets to pick their tackle and then still go quarterback at 5. And that would just be a crazy draft if they got somebody like, say, a Jedrick Wills at 3 and then at 5 still got Tua or Justin Herbert.
Wow. So you're saying they could use 18 and 26 to 18, move up?
26, and probably a second rounder. They could go up to 3.
Wow.
Sheesh.
Dude, this is going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait for this draft tomorrow.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of trades tomorrow. It's going to be wild.
See, I've
heard the opposite, though.
But I think that, with the way that the virtual draft, it's going to be so hard, and teams are going to be so nervous to pull the trigger that they're going to have a cutoff point for when they can make trades. But I think that there should, just based off team needs and like what you hear and all the teams with multiple first-round picks, it would make sense. But it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be weird. It's either going to be a lot of trades or next to no trades. There's really no in between, I think.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see if it does really turn out that the Redskins do get a first rounder or whatever they do get. And if it is a first rounder, I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with that, because it wouldn't surprise me to see them use that second first rounder to trade back.
Hey, even if they got an early second round pick, if the draft fell exactly like this and they still got a semi-early second round pick for Trent Williams, they could still get an Austin Jackson or an Ezra Cleveland or somebody who could come in there and play left tackle for him. So I think that this is a very good position that they're in if they can get a high pick for Trent.
Yeah, and look, they're in prime real estate right now. And if what we're hearing is true, that there are teams offering a first rounder, and if I'm Minnesota, I would without a doubt be offering my 21st overall pick for Trent Williams. Right. I mean, that would be a slam dunk in anyone's opinion.
Right. Let's be real. If they trade pick number 22 for Trent Williams, and let's say they would take Josh Jones like they did in this mock at number 22, who would you rather have, Trent Williams or Josh Jones?
Right.
I know Trent Williams costs more money, but I think that it's worth it, and I think Kirk Cousins would be extremely happy, and I think Dalvin Cook would be happy, and I think that you're getting more of a sure thing as opposed to a project left tackle who may or may not develop.
Yeah, and that's funny because I thought in one of my draft notes I wrote that Josh Jones I thought was one of the more pro-ready NFL tackles. He had a couple hiccups, but you could plug him in tomorrow and he'd be okay.
Right. I don't know. With what I've seen from him, it's kind of hard to project him just based off of who Houston has faced, and he's very inconsistent. I think that he's one of the better tackles in this class, but I think that he needs a little bit to maybe develop. Maybe he could sit a year or a little bit less than that, maybe half a year, and then take over left tackle. But I still think even what you're getting from him, if he is pro ready, I still think Trent Williams is still a better option at 22.
So the reason why I think Josh Jones is capable of stepping in is because when I read his bio, his dad is not a pro, but was a semi-pro football player and a coach. Mm-hmm. So he's a coach's son. So he knows, and when I watch his film, he has great form. The only thing is sometimes he has bad feet, but that can be coached up, and that's why I think that's why I think he could step in a shortened off season based on where all these other offensive tackles are. I think he could step in tomorrow because of who he is and his background and be okay mentally.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I would just rank Trent Williams.
Oh yeah.
I think all of us would.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think that would be perfect.
Draft easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easily. Yeah. Hands down.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, please go and like and subscribe to our page on Facebook, Twitter, and on iTunes podcast. Thank you so much. We'll maybe see you tomorrow, but tune in on tomorrow or Friday. We'll have a new episode coming up for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey, you guys enjoy your day.
Redskins football. Woo!
Audio Jungle.